Forget trying to keep up with AI. It's moving too fast. It's time to think differently about it. Welcome to the AI Readiness Project, hosted by Kyle Shannon and 𝗦𝗵cie. They're here to help you build the mindset to thrive in an AI-driven world and prepare for what's next.
𝗦𝗵cie.
Hey, Kyle Shannon.
What's happening?
Are we prepared for what's next?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like
honestly don't know either.
Accelerating, and just changing as these tools become more capable. Like, what people are talking about is different. So I don't know, but I think in a lot of ways, that's the whole point of this show, right? It's not called the AI Literacy Project. It's called the AI Readiness Project. So the best we can do, I think, is do what we can to be ready. And that looks like be curious and be adventurous and be adaptable and just do the best you can. Stop apologizing. That's one of the things we noticed early on when we started doing this work, is that a lot of our compatriots and us as well would apologize for not for how not expert we were.
Yep. Before we knew that nobody was an expert and every single person felt slightly, at least a little bit too dumb to understand it all. I've been having these flashes of, what if everything I think I'm preparing for is just the absolute wrong thing, right? What if what I deem as ready is 180 degrees from what I needed to prepare myself for? And it is a form of that apology, like I'm not good enough to overhear, also understand stuff, but then I really do have these gut checks of like, am I paying attention to the right thing? Are the things I'm paying attention to universal enough that if there's a catastrophe and it's like some other thing that I hadn't thought of, I have a strong enough foundation that I'm going to be able to process it.
I think it's a solid anxiety. I like it. I support your anxiety.
You support my anxiety? Good.
I do. I support your anxiety. I think where we are is that we are absolutely preparing for the wrong thing, because we've never had to prepare for what's coming. Like, we actually don't know what's coming, right? Sam Altman doesn't know what's coming. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't know what's coming. Elon Musk doesn't know what's coming.
Doesn't know. Yeah.
So, and what we're preparing right now is largely based on what we've done in the past. And so I think just by definition, we're preparing in a way that we understand as best we can. And whatever. And so I think it's okay. Like, I think it's the big skill then, I think, just becomes adaptability and maybe self-forgiveness, right?
Ooh, self-forgiveness.
Don't feel like you're
and what we were talking about before we hit record was the sense of knowing what you stand for, knowing who you are, self-knowledge and self-awareness, and where you fit on these lines, where the bright line is for you personally, let alone societally, globally.
Yep. So let's dig in. So I'll ask you, how ready for AI are you this week? What were you telling me before? Oh, you're preparing for your conference. There was some interesting stuff there. Tell me, like, let's get into it. How ready for AI are you this week?
Well, because of some of the recent stuff that I've been paying attention to, I do think I'm at an advantage. I've seen the dark side of how it can go with hiring or qualifying for something, applying for anything, because I'm unfortunately painfully aware of what's happening in the talent management and hiring world, where we've got this deluge of ChatGPT driven applications. Each person is applying for like 300, a day. And then we've got the systems that are trying to read it, and they're full of bias and they're breaking and all this stuff.
I'll have my AI talk to your AI.
My AI was going to talk to your AI. And so, to some degree, that felt like an academic, study for me.
Yeah.
But now I had this experience where, as we were reviewing our speaker applications for the Create conference in October, and we had 186 of them. We had a really thoughtful set of questions that we designed to draw out the uniqueness and the differences, because we really wanted to focus on having a breadth of topics and a breadth of speakers. And out of the 186, there were 30 that I had to just throw out because I don't have time to meet with every single one of them to understand what they really meant, which I could not tell on the application because they over-relied on AI. So all of them, all those 30, I couldn't differentiate them because they all skewed toward, the middle, the most namby-pamby version of themselves.
Well, can I be a little harsher?
Yeah.
I think those 30, if it was clear that they used AI, then those 30 people are doing what I call lazy AI, which is push the button, expect brilliant results, and just publish that without probably even taking it in.
For an AI conference.
For an AI conference.
Yeah.
You told me this earlier, and the thing that immediately struck me is that if you're brand new with AI, it might be easy. It will be easy for you to look at how magical it generates words and go, oh, that must be good. What you fail to recognize is people who've been paying attention to AI for a while and have gotten more sophisticated about how to use it. And this is a lot of what we talk about in here, having a point of view, things like that. It is immediately apparent that someone just vomited something out of an AI tool and didn't really think about it, didn't really have a point of view, right? Didn't craft the application that they gave you. And it's going to be tempting to have it feel like the easy button, but I think the fact that you could instantly recognize 30 of them as no. No, you didn't. If you didn't take the time to really consider what you were submitting to be a speaker, then I don't know. That's huge to me.
That's huge to me, and so it's an indication of either they don't have an ideal mastery of writing with AI yet, or they used it and leaned into it exclusively because it was like a whim. They don't really care, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So it's like, I mean, I don't want to need to draw that conclusion. And by the way, absolutely no shade to them. Like, in a perfect world, I would have been able to have the conversation, learn what they really meant, like all that kind of stuff. But I made a decision as I first started seeing these things that I would go on the merit of the application or not necessarily the merit, what was on the application versus what I knew, what I knew about people. So, but it's like you and I were talking about, where if folks don't have their own like inner compass, they don't know when they see the AI slop, they don't know that they're in keeping with their inner compass, because they're not in tune with what that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'll give them a little bit of less grace. I will throw them shade. Because first of all, I'm a cranky Gen Xer, and I think I think our guest today is full on Gen X and supports it and loves it. Sundee, who we're going to talk to in a bit, I'm really excited about. I just think it's lazy work. Like AI does allow you to be lazy if you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And it's what people call AI slop, and a lot of people are justifiably upset that there's just a bunch of garbage out there. And especially with something like, I want to speak at a conference, you have to put yourself out there in a way that's going to make it compelling for the event organizer to want to do it. And if you didn't do that, well, it is a layer less professional, right? And
it's a layer less professional. And it is a word to the wise that you're doing yourself a super solid by making the organizer's decision making like easier. And And when I have to study and read your application 6 times to figure out what your perspective is and what you're going to be talking about, I'm already kind of pissed at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well, but
know?
it's also that kind of thing. If they're lazy enough about it, you get the classic, she delves into the landscape of the tapestry of the paradigm shifts of the future. Like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
don't use
Yeah.
these words, right?
So it's like for me, one of the take homes is when you sit down to do an assignment or fill something out,
Yeah.
to take that breath that CJ Fletcher teaches us to do, to take that breath and that pause and like connect with yourself.
Yep.
Who are you? What's your point of view? What is your actual voice? Understand how you actually talk. Describe it. Not having ChatGPT hyper analyze your voice, because we can do that certainly. But like, how do you want to come across today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
exactly.
then do the thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Love it. Well, my
How about
week, I'm preparing for depending on when you see this, it may have already happened, but I'm preparing for a 5-day back to basics AI crash course on my AI Learning Lab channel. And, in typical Kyle fashion, I announced it 2 weeks before I'm delivering it, and I'm not prepared. So that's okay. But it's a really fascinating thing to go back to. I haven't, in probably more than a year, really talked about what is AI, why is it important.
Right.
I haven't really done a ChatGPT 101. And as I'm thinking about all of these different days, it is almost impossible to have, even in 5 days, to cover just the basics, right?
Nope. Yep.
The AI world is incredibly complicated right now. And it is complicated to the point that, not only can someone starting now not catch up to it, anyone who's been in it for 2 years can also not catch up with it, right?
Yeah.
It is these capabilities. I hesitate to even call them tools anymore because they're such broad capabilities, but these capabilities are getting increasingly sophisticated and accelerating out away from us. And so I think that goes back to the thing that you said at the very beginning, that you just feel like, I don't know if what I'm preparing for right now is what I need to prepare for. And I think about something just like OpenAI's agent, which recently came out, right? Where you give it a goal and then it goes and surfs websites and does deep research and prompts itself and does things for you. None of us know how to use those tools. We've never had that kind of capability. Maybe you've used GenSpark a little or Manus, and now you've got it within ChatGPT. It's the same kind of thing. But how do you actually use that on a day-to-day basis? I don't know, but I know that it's not the same as how you prompt ChatGPT. It's doing its own thing internally, right? So for me, I think I'm just confronted with the fact that people have to start somewhere. So I'm going to have to teach something. I'll teach as much as I can on each of those days, knowing that I'm barely scratching the surface for people. And, I guess my goal for the week is, can I provide someone a Kevin McAllister moment or two, right? Someone where they're just like, oh, I had no idea I could do that. That moment.
Yes.
And get people intrigued enough to say, hey, I want to know more. I want to get on this. I want to climb on the surfboard and try to ride these ever increasing waves.
So, okay, this is what has boggled my mind all along, as a cohort of us have gone through our AI journey with people around us, is that we seem to organically come back to some of the same places. We just launched our AI Foundations for Beginners course. It's every month, 90 minutes. We just did it on Friday, Kyle.
No.
So here we both are again.
Like feeling a need to reset in some way.
Reset. And it was helpful.
Yeah.
Helpful for me as for them. But, to get to that presentation, I had to chisel myself out of 190 slides.
Yeah.
and get it and get it to begin with the beginner's mindset, right? I
Yep.
was like, over the last 3 years, I've developed all these things and frameworks and da 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 da, and none of them apply to the beginner mindset. So I was like, 𝗦𝗵cie𝘄 and I had to like just sit there and go, okay, throw that one out, throw that one out, throw that one out. And we ended up
Yeah.
with this core set that was painful to
It,
only
it's
give
painful
those.
small, right? It's
Yes,
like painfully not enough. But
painfully not enough.
for someone who's never done this, they're still going to be mind blown when they see the thing that we think is just barely scratching the surface, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's huge. So let me throw it. So here's the one thing I wanted to think about this week is oddly in alignment. I mean, it's amazing that I'm like, I got to go back to basics. You independently come up with, you've got to go back to basics.
Yeah.
You were just talking about the AI mindset, and so here's the thing that I think is really worth paying attention to for the next week, and that is this. I'm gonna. What was the term you just mentioned before? Not worldview, but personal compass. Your
Inner compass.
your inner compass, right? I think that the single most important thing that you can do to get good at AI is to understand who you are and what you want and what your worldview is, what your inner compass is. And I think that there are a lot of people that don't necessarily go there all the time. And it seems counterintuitive, right? I think if you're just looking at AI from the outside, you're like, oh, AI is this genius that's going to do all this good stuff for me. And it's not. So here's the thing that I think people should pay attention to this week is when you're using any AI tool, whether it's an image tool or ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, whatever your tool of choice is, when it gives you something back where you're like, oh no, that's not right, rather than just immediately go in and start prompting, like fix this, fix that, fixing it tactically, if it gives you something back that you instinctively go, no, that's not me, take a moment and say, well, wait a minute, what is me? Why is that not right? Is it too simple? Is it too wordy? Is it like that really start to have an inquiry about what it gave you back and why it's not good. And I think you'll be able to fix it more quickly if you have some clarity. But
sure.
I think what it starts to do moving forward is AI comes to life when you give it enough context about who you are and what your intention is, the meaning that you want it to have. It will reflect that back to you in incredibly powerful ways. And if you don't have clarity about your inner compass, who you are, what your worldview is, then you're constantly just going to be battling this tool that doesn't seem to get who you are. And the more clear you are with it, the tool is just going to take your ideas and amplify them. And so that's my thing for the week.
So I am like 1,000,000% on that same page and can offer a concrete idea about how we can support ourselves in pouring ourselves into the AI is before you go to the shiny object of connecting an AI platform to your Google Drive, for example, and your email and your social security number and all that. So before you do that, curate 7 documents, right, about yourself. Not 100 million, right? Just 7 current, maybe it's your CV, a cover letter you wrote, your brand guide, a essay whatever, some 7 documents that epitomize you. Put those, I think of them as packets. Put those in a packet on your drive and only use those. Upload them to a project, upload them to a GPT, just include them in a chat. Doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah. Copy and paste. Yeah. If you're trying to do a piece of writing, copy and paste a piece of writing that you love and just tell it, this is a piece of writing that I love. Now let's talk about something completely different. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you see that you don't like the output, you can go, oh, I left that thing about that job that I didn't want to include in my narrative going forward. That's in the document. Fix the document. Keep that current and just give AI the advantage of knowing you, but in a curated version of you. So you don't have to do it every single time.
Yep, but it really does come down to your taste, and the more
Your
clear
taste.
you are on your taste, what you like, what you don't, the better AI is going to behave. It is a weirdly counterintuitive thing, right?
Yes.
It don't, even though it talks good, it uses words good, it doesn't know who you are, right? Unless you tell it who you are, and you can't tell it who you are unless you start exploring that. So I think that's the thing to pay attention to. All right.
Same.
With that, I want to get Sundee up here. I'm really excited to bring her up, but why don't we talk about, why don't you jump in and tell the good people about 𝘦𝘕 AI?
All right. So 𝘦𝘕 AI, we are becoming quite the powerhouse. We do a few things. One is we have a membership community like the AI Salon, 140 women who spend time on Mighty Networks together, who hang out on Saturdays, who learn from each other in member jams. Then we also have our AI Academy, which we just launched our AI Foundations. It's once a month, 90 minutes. If you have a woman in your life who's like on the outskirts of this, send her to this course. Like, it's chill. It's on Friday nights, like wonderful, encouraging. And then we have our AI consultancy, our AI consulting agency, which is about to hit the streets really soon. So, and we have a conference, and we have, it's a whole ecosystem built for women by women. And the goal is to provide, a safe space, an encouraging space, a place where your network, which matters more than ever, where your network is what gives you the advantage that we've all been looking for and hoping for decades. So here we are. 𝘕𝘕 AI.
Love it. Love it. Let me tell you a little bit about the AI Salon. Similar kind of organization, really designed for people to put. Here's a thing that is kind of a new idea I've had about the Salon, Ann, is Leah, who co-founded the Salon with me, sent me it wasn't quite a panic text, but it was one of those existential moment texts where she's like, I don't know if I believe in AI anymore. Like, I don't know if right. And what her big issue was I don't feel like these tech companies are putting people at the center of the technology. And my immediately response was, I don't think they're ever going to. And I think that groups like 𝘕𝘕 AI and the AI Salon are about putting people at the center, right? About what is the humanity of how we use these tools and what the impact is on those people. And so the AI Salon is full of people that are just instinctively doing that, putting themselves and humanity at the center of the conversation, not the technology. And so that's what the Salon's all about. And we have a membership community as well and things like that. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, come join the AI Salon. And then one final thing before we bring up Sundee, and that is the AI Readiness Training Program is live. So if you are trying to get yourself ready for AI, which is what this whole podcast is about, go to areyourreadyforai.com. And it's a course that is based on a lot of the content from AI Festivus. Sundee actually met you and I through AI Festivus, so this is kind of a full circle moment. But anyway, with that, why don't we talk about our special guest, and then we'll bring her up here. So why don't you tell the good people about Sundee and why she's here today?
Well, Sundee is here because she is not messing around with the systems that weren't built for us anymore. She's teaching us how to create a new infrastructure, particularly Gen X women who are kind of uniquely positioned to break down, what happened before and do what is right, what is going to make us successful in the future. And not just us, but our communities, our society, the globe. And she has a long running passion for making systems better. And has been doing it for her entire career. She's a proud Aggie and comes to us from
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Yes.
I think our first guest from Mississippi,
I think
Sundee, welcome.
absolutely.
Hello.
From South Central United States of America.
It's a disconnect. Hello.
Welcome. It is so nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about the opportunity to have conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't we, before Ann and I get carried away with asking all sorts of questions, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you want people to know about what you're up to.
Absolutely. So I grew up in New England and went to college in Texas. And now I am an AI implementation technologist, futurist, all of those things. And I live on 6 acres in Mississippi, and we just got broadband internet last year. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So that experience alone really informed not everybody has access.
Yeah.
Not everybody is able to take advantage of this opportunity, this technology. And I see that in our businesses down here. I see it in the young people down here. It's getting better, but like you say, you can't catch up. This technology is not like purchasing an Intel server or saving your operational or cap expense and getting an AMD when it rolls out.
Yeah.
This technology grows over time. So anybody who didn't implement 2 years ago, you are already behind.
Yeah. Well, so, and I would even argue anyone who did implement 2 years ago,
still behind.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean I don't think that you shouldn't start, but I think it's the sense of
urgency,
the sense of overwhelm and urgency, especially if it starts impacting people's jobs. And you have to be AI literate if you're going to work here anymore. Wait, what does that even mean? Right? If I haven't played with it. Wow.
Can you share about the intersection of building new infrastructure, which I've had the pleasure of hearing you share about, and the future for Gen X women and the work that you're doing with them to kind of launch them into
absolutely
the future?
So the future needs to be different than the past. We've reached a point that what goes up must come down. So when the stock market goes up, the stock market must come down. When we switched in 1970 from investment in pensions, unions, employees, training, and we changed to extraction, well, that also has a shelf life, and that is coming to a close. And all of the arcs of time, whether you're talking about generational arcs, empirical arcs, so things like the Empire of the United States, Rome, the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire, 250 years is about the limit. And we are at 249. And no empire has survived without great change or revolution at all, ever. So all of those things feel really hard and heavy when they happen individually. They are happening for the first time in human history all at the same time. So you have these generational arcs, the baby boomers who switched us from investment to extraction. Their time is coming to a close. You're looking at the unipolar moment that the United States had at the height when the Cold War ended and the US was the center of everything: culture, movies, education, military. We dominated every sphere. That time's coming to a close. And all of those things ending at the same time, you see the panic in capitalism of we've got to get as much out of this as we can. We're not going to be, OpenAI, we're not going to be a not-for-profit. We want to rake in as much money as we can. You see it in systems like Amazon stealing product IP and coming out with, here's the Amazon brand of that backpack that you really love that has all the bells and whistles. And so you see this age of extraction coming to a close, and the people with power, money, and influence are panicking because the only thing that comes next is the rich get eaten. You think the French Revolution, you think the civil unrest during the US revolution when we moved away from the British Empire. So the next 10 years holds a great deal of volatility and an amazing opportunity. Gen X is the only generation that didn't grow up digitally. We grew up before.
Yep.
So you can't expect Gen Z or even millennials to say, wait a minute, this worked before. I really liked this. We should carry this forward. And boomers are not expected to thrive in an AI world.
Right.
They're not. They're on the way out. They're on the decline. So it really does leave Gen X, specifically Gen X women, in a position to center humans, to center children, to center community and connection. And we have the experience to say, you know what, I remember when I received a binder of SOPs and how to do my job. I really think we should go back to that. And you don't have to go back to that, Mr. Amazon. But when I build my business, I'm going to make sure that there's a binder that says this is what your job is, whether that's a virtual binder or a physical binder, you know, take your pick. We can always have a trapper keeper, but it's we are that one generation. We are intended also, if you look at the flow of time, there are roles that each generation plays. We are that fixer generation. We are the ones that have that responsibility as well.
Wow. So can I ask you, one of the things that strikes me about generative AI is the G in GPT, the generative part, is computers have never behaved like this before. They've never created, generated. And I'm curious if you feel that the opportunity of hyper prosperity is a possibility. Like, do you feel like the age of extraction ends just at the time when, you know, hyper prosperity comes? Like, what's your take on where this is headed? Right? Are we going to get into a highly prosperous time, or, you know, what's your take on the capability itself that's emerging?
We have two choices. So if we persist in allowing power and money to dictate what infrastructure is accessible to whom, if we allow power to dictate who has access to what tools, extraction continues. And we live in a surveillance state that is technology not for good, but technology for malicious intent, nefarious intent. Those systems are all coming to a close, but if we do nothing, they will just rebuild what we had before. It's familiar, it's convenient, and it's easy. It's the easy button. You were talking about the easy button before of generative AI. It is just easy to say, well, this is the way we've always done it.
Right. Yeah, that's the power structure. Yeah, but my sense is that the centers of power, the death throes of them are going to be intense, right?
Well, you've already see it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we do have an opportunity. Like, that is the flip side of the coin. With every ending, there is a beginning, and that beginning has already started. At no other time in human history has the economy depended so greatly on women. You cannot remove women from the equation and expect the economy to be as prosperous. So you can't send us all back to the house. You can't make us all have babies. You can't erase us from the annals of history and expect that the country is going to prosper in the same way. So the reality is that to date, VC funding has gone to the tech bros, the Brads and Chads of it all. What that has resulted in, AI has everybody. I saw it on LinkedIn the other day. VC funder was complaining. Everybody's making the same 3 products. Well, if the world was written for you, by you, in your image, are we solving your problems or are we solving your inconveniences? Because if we're solving your inconveniences, that's a you problem. Women have never had the opportunity to solve their problems and the universal problems that affect the majority. So patriarchy, and this is not a ding on men, this is the structure of life that we have known it. And patriarchy focuses on the individual. It just does. That's the structure. It's very hierarchical. It's very focused on the individual. Matriarchy, on the other hand, is not a negative image. It's not created in the self-image of patriarchy. It centers something different. It centers community, children, feminine energy, so that everyone prospers. So if we don't shift to a more egalitarian, a more inclusive, a more, at this point, Congress should not be made up of 5% of the silent generation. Sweetie, take a nap. So let's move forward in a way that gathers people together to solve real problems.
Yeah. So you take that like really powerful macro, the macro issues that you just described. What happens on an individual level for Gen X women that makes our experience going forward in an ideal land so much different now?
So I had a real aha moment. I left corporate November of 2023. I had been passed over. I had been promised a promotion that was rescinded, promised a raise, a title. I was managing projects at $1 million levels, and all of a sudden the promotion was gone. We had been sold by Dell a couple of times, and I was cast aside, basically. And even after I had moved our Salesforce instance twice. So,
Wow.
So I walked away. I was given an ultimatum. You will either continue to work at 150% or you will turn in your resignation. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you for making that easy.
Yeah.
And I walked away. And I started this business not knowing what I was starting, seeing that the men that I worked for in technology, I've worked for the last 20 years in technology. I've consistently been other duties as assigned girl. If there was a problem nobody could fix, if there was an issue that needed a solution, if there was a process that needed to be made more efficient, if there was another department that needed to be, I just ended up taking on all of these additional responsibilities. And I had this epiphany when I left. How hard can it be? Boys do it. We can't do any worse than the men that have been in charge to date. So there's less risk than what we consider. And the epiphany was, and this is the way I've run my business, if you change the life of a woman, you change the world.
Yes.
And so I got called on the carpet for it. Who do you think you are to have this audacious goal of changing women? And I looked at him and I said, oh, sweetie, I don't have to change a woman's life. I changed my life, which means I have already changed the world. And that is the message to Gen X women.
Right.
If you make an individual change within your life to reclaim your time, your voice, your energy, you have changed the world. Because each ripple of each person who moves through this next phase of what comes next, this future of work, everybody who does it differently changes the world. Makes possible something else. If we could all just choose differently, instead of doom scrolling for 2 hours because you're tired, ask ChatGPT, I have this idea. Is it a viable business?
Yeah.
Ask ChatGPT, I have this solution to this document problem at my office. Is this a universal problem? Are other people struggling with this? And when you make that single shift from consumer to creator, from being someone who is extracted from to somebody who is putting something back into the world changes. That's how we get through what comes next, by growing together, by reestablishing community bonds. And those can be virtual. I do not recommend 100%. We do this work individually.
Yeah, no, we talk about community all the time. There's also something about the fact that the primary interface is now language that if you've got good empathetic skills, you're really good at AI, at generative
Well,
AI, right? Like
that's why all of us girls that were
Yeah.
other duties as assigned,
Yep,
we're thriving.
Yes.
exactly. It's incredible.
It's one of those things where when you were, for me, when I was in it and doing, taking care of all of the barkers of projects,
Yes.
I had no idea then that it was anything other than just being kind of screwed over. But now I look back on it and I'm like, but I got to learn this fringe case and that fringe case and this weirdness and this gnarly problem that nobody else could fix.
Yes.
Now you take all of that. Here we are. We're in our Gen X is what, like 45 to 60?
45 to 60. Yes.
45 to 60. So here we are. Now we sleep for the, lots of us get sleep now. We have some discretionary income. We're done with the old systems, but we still have that necessary, I think that a little bit of spite goes a long way.
Oh, it sure
Sometimes
does.
you need to have that little bit of spite to just say, I'm going to flip over the tables and do it another way. So,
exactly. Bitter, betcha.
Right? So, question for you. At what point in your journey did you understand that you got to go all in on AI? What was that tipping point for you and what happened next?
So my story is a little bit different. When I was my entire career, but college mostly, I really recognized that both sides of my brain work equally. So I was an English major taking engineering 400 level classes for fun. So yeah. Yeah, I was the only liberal arts major that was in engineering classes for fun.
Wow.
I was also the only Yankee in Texas for college, so it really kind of rang true. But so during the pandemic, when a lot of people went sourdough and gardening, I went Python and neural networking.
How cool is that?
I
Fascinating.
sat in on MIT classes and was like, did I need to go back to college? And then you fast forward to generative AI, and it was everything. It changed the trajectory of my life. It made problem solving, problem presentation, decoding the different facets of my brain and stitching it together in a way that was really palatable. I heard you talking earlier today about garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And for me, I started this thinking, oh, I need to become a better writer. I need to become a writer. I need to learn marketing. I need to learn ChatGPT. And then I realized, wait a minute, I was a writer in college. I'm already a writer. So if I use ChatGPT not to generate my writing, but rather to refine my writing. So I actually write into ChatGPT and then we have a conversation about it.
Yes, same.
So I use those AI tools just a little bit differently, and all of the other non-neurotypical things that get stitched together, whether it's that facet from music, facet from history, that movie that I saw a couple years ago, like it all just kind of, I can put all of those context pieces into ChatGPT and be like, I know these all tie together, and this is what I think that tie is. What am I missing? And have this really great back and forth. So that's how I got to AI. It was that, oh, I don't need to go to college. I'm actually made for this. When I started in technology in 2006, I remember a crystal clear moment thinking, I'm going to start in sales, but the technology I'm meant to work with has not been created yet. It's not here yet. So I need to learn all of this other stuff so that when it gets here, I'm ready. And let me tell you, I was ready.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's like I call it revenge of the liberal arts major is the era that we're entering. I in New York City, you and I must have similar brains. I would buy a copy of Backstage for audition notices and Scientific American at the same newsstand at the same time, right? I'm curious when you say when generative AI came along. So you'd understand, neural networks and tensor and TensorFlow and all that sort of stuff. Was it the launch of ChatGPT that did it? Was it playing with OpenAI Playground before that? What was the thing that made it snap all of a sudden and just feel different?
It was the accessibility and approachability of ChatGPT.
Okay.
It was collaboration. It was play.
Yeah.
It was
because it was such a simple interface early on, right?
Yes, it was intuitive. I didn't have to go to school. I didn't have to know more than anybody else. And the realization that there's no 25-year-old who's got more experience than I do with ChatGPT. That really provided agency,
right? The fact that we've been on the planet long enough to have seen some stuff.
Yeah.
We can look at the output of ChatGPT and go, nah, that's not right.
Exactly.
The industrial age meant you didn't have to take your muscle to work, and everybody got to start working with their brains and innovate and create. And then you had the information age come, and and it was like, oh, you don't need paper, you can just hold all your stuff in this box on your desk. And so we stopped remembering phone numbers, we stopped sending physical mail. And I feel like the AI age, it does take intelligence away. It is no longer the defining factor. I'm very proud of the fact that I went to Texas A&M, but quite frankly, it doesn't matter. That accolade, that piece of paper is inconsequential for this current generation. What is left is this taste and discernment and the ability to know what is right and true and beautiful. But you have to take some time to get back to understanding what that is for you. And you were talking about it earlier. Where do you stand? What is your opinion? Well, for so long, we've all had that kind of etched out of us. And the younger generation hasn't been taught to learn cognitively. They've been indoctrinated. They've learned some things. So that 25-year-old who has said, I'm going to start an AI business. Fabulous. What do you know about business?
Right.
Very little.
Don't get me started. Yeah.
So there's a whole opportunity for Gen X women also to live in the idea space. In my business, the way that I help women, there are 3 spheres. There's the W-2, there's the entrepreneur, which is high risk. You've got employees, maybe you've got brick and mortar, maybe it's HVAC, whatever it is. There is this new space called the digital space, and I call it W-2 entrepreneur and idea space. Because what you're putting out into the world, we need your ideas.
Yeah.
We need you to teach 25-year-old HVAC business people the business portion of how to show up to a business meeting, how to put a proposal together, how to craft marketing in a way that is persuasive while being ethical. They haven't been taught any of those things. But the men who created this technology are saying, well, you should be a plumber.
Oh, God,
You should be a plumber. Okay, Bob, your kids have millions. That's fabulous advice. Thank you.
Let me ask you another thing. I think it's absolutely spot on. And I think that having that point of view, like AI becomes an idea amplifier, right? And if what we can train people to do is get your ideas into this thing and have a point of view, then you can amplify them and put them in the world in an incredibly powerful way. So here's question number 2 that we ask all of our guests. In your area of expertise, what is an AI trend that you're paying attention to right now, and why?
So I am paying attention to agents right now. I think that they are a change maker, both for good as well as for evil. And the opportunity there is early on, you will be allowed to create agents that solve problems in your vertical. So before they really get a feel for it and lock down any of that access, we do have some opportunity to build revenue, build generational wealth, that affluence that you were talking about earlier, the wealth and ability. I think that makes that possible. At the same time, I'm also keeping an eye on and making sure that the women I work with understand, if the product is free, you are the product. And so anything that's on Amazon has to be taken with a grain of salt and really what I'm using agent marketplaces for is as a reverse engineering. So ultimately, whether that's building infrastructure that allows for SMB agents or one person business agents, the marketing is different. The market itself is different. So that's where I'm focused on. I'm really eager to see when Anne's going to get her pizza. But
I'm very, very hungry for a pineapple pizza.
Yeah.
It's never going to come to my house.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But I think there's real valid use cases for agent work. My challenge with things like marketplaces that are put out by AWS, they've already cornered 30 to 40% of global data and market share for cloud computing. And so it's really an easy implementation to not augment the staff that you have, but to replace them. So you might have executives that think, oh, we're already partnering with AWS, but they've already got all of our data. Their platform's already something rich within our environment. Let's just go ahead and replace the CX team and have it done with agents now. So I think it is the job loss at scale that I'm concerned about with agents. And I'm also concerned for while I don't think about malicious use cases, there are people out there that are refining for that on the daily. So, and I think we are opening ourselves to that potential with agents.
How do you think that how do we teach ourselves how to use agents? I can see an organization looking at an agent and go, okay, all those tasks, that's that job, let's replace that job. I can see that.
Right.
But also us as individuals, and people within your community, these Gen X women, also have access to these agents that can be quite powerful. But I don't think I know I currently don't. What do I ask this thing? What other than book me a vacation for a family of 4,
right.
and have vegan menus. Like I feel like there's parlor tricks I know right now, but I don't have an instinct about how to use them. What is your thought on that? And how do we learn how to use these things moving forward?
Right. So I think that that's where community comes into play. I think that there are valid use cases. I personally struggle with distribution. I'm not a huge fan of marketing. I think that agents are a great way to augment my own skill set, to take things off my plate that I don't necessarily find joy in doing. We talked yesterday at Social Saturday at She Leads AI. What is your non-negotiable? What are you unwilling to give an agent? And I will tell you, my non-negotiable was Anne's, oh my God, I would give that to an agent in a heartbeat. And that was Christmas cards. Yeah. Writing out Christmas cards. I will never ask an agent to write out Christmas cards. That brings me joy. That is something I really every year look forward to. And for other people, Anne included, it was like, oh, if I had an agent to do it, then maybe it would get done.
That's hilarious. That's great.
So yes. I think there are real use cases for agents, but I think that we need to work together because it will be process driven and not everybody is a process person.
Yeah, I know I got to ask our last question, but the fact that so many people aren't going to know what it means to even something as simple as, my take of upload my Christmas list, Christmas, my mailing list, like that is not an insignificant thing that I've just done for my friends and family, by the way, the people who I really, really love.
Right.
Yeah. So, and the average person can't possibly be aware of it because it just hasn't been the way that we needed to think before.
Right. Exactly.
It's that saying about just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, right? Okay, our last question is, what does AI readiness mean to you?
For me, AI readiness is understanding that it's a tool. Tools change. Right now, we're working with large language models. Don't get comfortable with large language models. They're changing. The world model is what comes next. Even if it doesn't amount to the same impact as a large language model, you think about the way that humans learn, humans don't learn by reading the encyclopedia. A child will learn more before they turn 5 than they will for the rest of their entire lives. And they learn it through perception. They learn through hearing and seeing and tasting and touching. That's what comes next, is this world model JEPA, and I don't remember what it stands for because I just read about it on Friday. But so what it is to be AI ready is to be adaptable. I think adaptability is the one skill that we can teach our children, that we can bring to community, that we can encourage in virtual spaces. The idea that the output may be the same, but what got us here, what got us to LLMs doesn't take us to spaceflight. It doesn't take us to AGI. If it was going to, it would have. They've thrown a lot of money at it.
Yep. A lot.
A lot of money.
A lot.
So
like, where does all this money come from? It's crazy.
Yeah. So when we think about where we go next, or how we get to the next, the next iteration of this technology, don't get married on to the back end, because it's going to be different. So think about how you engage, and think about it as a tool. I think about it as a survival skill more than I think about it as a luxury. And I think some people do see it as luxury. They see it as a toy. And I'm glad that works for you, Thad. That's fabulous. But for women, it really is a tool that helps you reclaim your time, your voice, and to find that inner peace that comes of knowing yourself well. And LLMs are a mirror, and they only know the past. They can't predict the future. They're horrible at some things. They're horrible at problem solving, come to find out. So as we find the limitations and we work around them, that will bring new technology, new iteration, new innovation, women, and untapped potential. So whether you're talking about the global South, whether you're talking about the United States South, the states that the education outcomes are lower, the healthcare outcomes are lower, if you can remove the stress of worrying about your healthcare, you allow for innovation. If you have access to broadband, that's not a luxury. Broadband is not a luxury. If you're not worried about work, if you're not worried about all of those other things, innovation becomes possible. So when we think about access, when we think about who's allowed to build, who's permitted into the room, well, the rooms have been very exclusive to date. And it is time to build a new house on a new, different foundation. And if I can encourage my 18-year-old stepson to choose differently, then I think that we can do the same. As adults, as Gen X women, we just need to choose differently, prioritize differently. So being AI ready is about choosing to be adaptable and ready for what comes next.
Gorgeous.
Sundee, how can people get a hold of you and learn more? How can they hang out with you more?
So my name is Sundee, Sundee Williams. And as far as I can tell, I'm one of very few. So all of my socials, except for Instagram, are Sundee Williams. So my Substack is sundeewilliams.substack.com. My Stan store is stan.store/Sundee Williams. So that's where my thoughts and my products are being housed. But you can find me on LinkedIn. I am there every day arguing with men who think that women should be smaller. But the key is my name. I started a business under something else, and I was like, this is ridiculous. My name is so weird that I'm just going to go with that.
Love it. Love it. Well, I have met, I don't know, thousands of Gen X women in this journey. It was what helped me figure out that we needed community, was just opening up a workshop, and the only people there were Gen X women.
You're ready.
It was like,
you're so ready.
Everyone. Yeah. I never said, don't come here if you're a guy. I just
opened up the doors, and that's who came with a quickness.
Yeah.
And I know that the work that you're doing is going to unlock so much for the world. Not like you said,
Thank you.
when it's safe for women, it's safe for everybody. When it's
Yes.
when women thrive, everyone thrives.
Yeah. This is the first time in my history, you know, as a pasty white guy, the generative AI stuff, the AI salon and working with Anne, it's the first time in my life that I've regularly been in meetings with more women than men talking about technology. And it is
it's exciting.
really
Very
quite
healthy.
exciting. So yeah. So thank you so much. I felt like, you know, a lot of the stuff you just talked about, I felt like, yeah, yes. So
Good.
So thank you so much for coming and doing this with us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sundee.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.